stuff. I'm sat here today still with my colleagues, Dr. William Large and Dr. Roy Jackson, who, although it doesn't look like on the video, sat rather close to me. So
too close.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of peculiar, but nonetheless.
But you actually designed this, so.
Yeah, I designed it specially. We've been talking about the ontological argument, at least Roy and I have, and Will's joined us really for an evaluative discussion. The ontological argument for the existence of God. What are its kind of benefits? It's the strong advantages it has as an argument, and does it convince us? Will, let's start with you.
Oh right. No, it doesn't convince me. But I think I always think about the context of the argument. I don't know whether you discussed that when.
A little, but please can we hear us?
Well, I think if you think about the context of the argument in Saint Anselm, for example. He didn't actually see it as a proof of the existence of God, and in fact, you could see the way he introduced it as more like a prayer. So it's a celebration, really, of I suppose, acknowledging the possibility. But for him, of course, he already believed in God. He didn't require some ontological proof for his faith. I think that I don't. Although clearly it's a fascinating argument in terms of itself, and formally it's very interesting. But I think that in the end, I would say I think that Kant's criticism of it, for me, is that's it. And once you understand Kant's criticism, but for me, that just I've never been convinced by the argument since. And Kant's criticism basically is you can't argue something into existence. Yeah. No matter how beautiful your argument is and how logical it is, it doesn't actually prove that anything exists. You can't make that jump from an idea to something really existing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think, I was just saying before, I think it's not really out to convince.
It is my fault to ignore it.
You could edit that later.
Yeah, well, no.
It's not really out to convince anyway. That's not the original intention of it. I think to its benefits, on the one hand, I think it's good as an intellectual exercise. And I think it's a good way of learning how to use logic and philosophical arguments. And then trying to recognise fallacies within it. But also the fact that it's distinguished from other arguments and the fact that it's meant to be a priori and analytic and so on. And so it's not reliant upon the usual kind of inductive methods. So I think that has the appeal. But I agree when it comes to Kant, who says, well, that's something we can never demonstrate. It's beyond the phenomenal world. It's something that you can't prove into existence. But as I say, it wasn't really the intention in the first place.
And just briefly go over it. We did cover Kant's objection briefly in another argument, but the full nature of that objection is that existence of things isn't one of their qualities.
Yeah, existence is not a predicate like red is.
So red, having three sides if you're a triangle, having three sides of a triangle is a necessary quality of triangles. But existence of God isn't. Some people would argue that what's different is that triangles have three-sidedness as their thing. God has existence because God's different. That would be an attempt to try and kind of persuade us that we shouldn't take Kant's criticism as fatally wounding the argument.
Yeah, but I still think that what Kant's saying, in the end, it shows to me is that logical arguments still take place within the context of a certain way of thinking about the world. So within a certain conception of metaphysics, it's still possible to conceive of the ontological argument as being valid. Philosophers like Leibniz and Spinoza were still using the ontological argument as being valid. But I think that essentially from Hume onwards, really that the question was that a kind of empiricist metaphysics, which is that the criterion for existence is experience. It's not it's not a logical argument. It is if something exists, then it's because you can experience it. So this is a different kind of judgment.
So we're not in the kind of position where going around demonstrating things a priori. That's it. Even makes sense.
Yeah. So the argument is, I suppose Kant's inspiration is Hume. There's a difference between relations of ideas and matters of fact. I can't remember the actual Humean distinction, but that and so you can't cross over from one to the other. And existence is a judgment that must, for Kant and Hume, has its basis in experience. Something exists because you experience it. You can actually, if you like to be quite literal, you can see it, you can touch it.
Yeah, I think going back to Anselm for a moment, I think he wouldn't deny the usefulness of empirical methods and so on. However, he would argue nonetheless it does have limitations. It can't answer everything. But then you have faith. So it's whether someone is prepared to use faith as another form of knowledge.
And I think the strength of the ontological argument throughout the tradition is because, apart from Spinoza maybe, which is a specific case, that the philosophers who were using the ontological argument already had a strong religious commitment.
So they're not really trying to prove anything to anybody. They're using it as a way of reflecting on the nature of their own faith and the nature of that thing which they have faith
but it's
in.
linked to their metaphysics
Yeah,
already.
absolutely. They've got all that kind of backdrop.
Something like Leibniz bases his philosophy on the fact that the ultimate meaning of reality it cannot be experienced. So he goes beyond empirical facts. So he would say that what you see empirically is not what is true. What is true is monads, which are not, you cannot experience them. They're an idea or hypothesis. So he has a completely different way of looking at the world from Hume or Kant. So you could see how the ontological argument would still have a purchase for him. But to accept his ontological argument, I would say you have to accept his metaphysics.
And you have to do that first.
Yeah,
absolutely. I hope that shows that I think the ontological argument, even though we might ultimately, as we seem to have done, collectively reject it, has interesting things to say. Because when I was first taught it, I think I was just taught it long ago in a kind of windy room in Polytechnic of Sunderland, and it was taught as though it would convince me and those present to believe in God. And I think we all left feeling that someone was trying to kind of play a kind of card trick on us, but we couldn't quite see the magic. Something was wrong with it, but we couldn't see what it was. And I think when it's presented as that, a lot of people actually just aren't interested. And hopefully we've demonstrated there's kind of interesting things there, much more to it, even if we don't ultimately accept it. Thank you.